Hello and welcome back to another episode of One Meal a Day Modified in New England. We've had a bird nest fall down. We actually had two birds' nests because it's been really windy here that fell, but there's one in the yard. And it is really, really nice weather. The trees are in bloom. Obviously, there's like flowers trying to come out everywhere. And one of the things I want to talk about today is making modifications to your one meal a day when it's getting warm outside. Because technically you probably should be and you're going to be eating less. Because, I mean, it's warm, it's hot. If not, then you should sort of be considering eating less, because if you don't, you're going to be highly uncomfortable. We have thousands of black bearded viruses, bearded viruses that we grow. These are the bleeding hearts, and we just have a lot of flowers. To grow some daisies. For some reason I love growing daisies. Don't get some. Like the sprouts are all there as long as the deer don't eat them. When we have young, tender flowering plants, it's the deer that come and eat them up. And I don't begrudge them because, hey, they're nature, they need to live, and at least I know those little daisy buds lived in the bellies of beautiful beast, if nothing else. And let's look at the sky. It's beautiful outside, isn't it? And then let's look at hostas and this, I think it's called barberry. Not sure what this bush is called. And we have the flowers on that. Plenty of hyacinth, and I am allergic to bee stings, but there is a big fat gigantic bumblebee. So let's leave that before I have to get out the old EpiPen. And we have giant hostas. We have several plants of this, and those are starting to come up. One of my favorite bushes. The only issue is you do have to keep it trimmed from your house, otherwise it will try to grow up. It climbs, so we have to make sure we keep it divided from the house, but I refuse to move it or have it moved. But we have several of these as well. So let's get back in the house and talk about what I'm going to do to modify my meals for the warmer season. I know you're like, what are you doing, Mama? So we're just gonna work our way through to the kitchen. And here we are. And there are all my flowers on the table, getting sunshiny and happy. Ta-da! But what are we here to talk about? This is our meal for the day. So it's getting, the sun is moving, so I have to adjust everything a little bit. So today, what am I having to eat? Today I am having some grilled, thinly sliced steak, a piece of glazed grilled pork, some roasted, and there is a method to making these. So if you don't know how to clean an artichoke, it is key to making sure you have something edible. But there's artichokes as well as broccoli. And I just, had it chopped off the stalk, cleaned it up a little bit for the broccoli. And what I did do after cleaning the broccoli and the artichokes are I soaked them in some lemon water. So, probably 1.5 lemons to about maybe I'm going to say several cups of water. I couldn't tell you how much, but I just made sure the veg was completely covered for two reasons. One is to keep it moist. Especially if you're going to heat it up, you want it to be nice and moist. The second reason is to stop any oxidation or discoloration. And three, just a bonus, add a little bit of flavor. Nothing wrong with that. Some people will actually use vinegar instead, but I like lemon instead. Either or, whatever your preference is. And then you know how I am about my pineapple. Yes, pineapple seems to be on sale every day now. So some pineapple spears, just a few though. And I have a pickled salad, and I did this by simply using balsamic vinegar and some spices, which I let sit overnight for 24 hours. Drained off some of the balsamic vinegar and kept a little bit to make a dressing, and there you go. Super simple. One of the things I do to make an adjustment is I will consume what's on my main plate first. Why? Because first of all, usually that's where the protein is, and we all need protein for cellular regeneration and cellular health. And then, of course, my main veg is usually on that plate. And in the summer, and I'll even say the spring and the summer, I try to be more veg focused. So there, will occasionally be a complex carbohydrate on the plate, such as my rice blend, which is in one of my former videos, which I'll link to this one. Or even if I decide to, have something a little more indulgent, such as gnocchi, then, of course, I'm not going to have that much of it. I'll have probably about that much of it, like half of what you see for the veg. But it's something that you would have on occasion, not all the time, especially in the warm months where it may be like 100 degrees outside, in the 90s. And and the sun is beating down 24 hours a day, and staying inside your centrally air-conditioned home may be way more convenient than going outside for a hike or a walk or any form of physical movement. So knowing that, you do have to sort of take into account what you're eating, and the fact that even if you decide to indulge today, it is possible you can have a heat wave starting tomorrow. So you sort of have to think that way when you're making these like permanent changes to your diet. And so, like I said, I'll usually eat what's on this plate first, and then what I'll do is move on to whichever I prefer. In this case, it's going to be the pineapple next. Simply because if you want to get cooled off, if you have a slight sweet tooth, if you, instead of drinking juice, have some fresh fruit. Why? Vitamins. It'll give you that, as well as the fiber that you need in your diet. And then in this case, meaning in this case is this particular meal, case number 743 of the 1 meal a day modified files, what I would have to basically snack on would be this pickled salad. And the reason I like it pickled is because the balsamic vinegar adds that little extra something that satisfies like the need for any chips, and of course with this being pickled, do it so it's crunchy, so that if you want to crunch on something, then it should satisfy any crunchy urges that you have. Hashtag crunchy urges. I feel like that was something that RuPaul would say. But anyway, so I try to cover, my basis with my 1 meal a day in the spring. And this is mostly like later spring when it starts getting really warm, and definitely in the summer. So what would I do if I decided, I can't eat all of, this is a lot of veg. My thought is that I'm not going to necessarily eat all of this veg necessarily today, but it is on the plate, it is on the roster, it is on the menu, if you will, just in case, because I'd rather eat what you see here than to eat cake or ice cream or other naughty things. And we do have ice cream in our home all the time. The cool thing about it is, previous to working and starting this whole 1 meal a day modified situation, I used to have ice cream, I think almost every day. Not necessarily like literally every day, but if you're talking like 4 or 5 times a week, that's close enough to every day. The good thing though is I eventually got away from liking all the toppings, because we'd have fudge and peanut butter and whipped cream. Before I decided to really minimize my ice cream intake, I actually got rid of the toppings first. And sometimes just making a small change, you will see, changes in your weight, if you're especially looking at numbers. And, my numbers definitely declined quite nicely. It's always a work in progress, and, I'm still working on losing at least another, I'm going to say 30 pounds. Realistically, it's probably 20 pounds, but I figure if I lose 30 and I gain back 10, I can't be disappointed in that at all. And I would not be disappointed in that. These are some of the modifications I'm making. Now you know what my goal is for the spring, is to lose, I would say 30 pounds. And like I said, technically, realistically, it's 20, but if I gain anything back, I have my little safety net number there. So I hope that you guys share with me what your goals are for this summer and spring. And I keep saying them backwards, but spring and summer. And how you're going to modify your meals. Do you have any weight loss goals for this season? Do you think you'll look and feel and be healthier at the end of the summer than you were at the beginning of spring? Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And thank you so much for tuning into this video. I can't wait to eat, because as you know, I've had nothing to eat all day. My next video is going to be talking about the time of day, as far as when it is best, in my opinion, and what's worked for me, as far as having your meal for the day. So take care, beware, and also remember that health is wealth.